Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub, live in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. The Vegas Golden Knights. This is an organization out here in Vegas that has done some things good, has done some stuff bad, and there's some stuff that's been in between. But one aspect of the Vegas Golden Knights that you can't deny, one aspect of Vegas that most people, including myself, would have to agree is the talent level, the production, and having some of the best talent in hockey have been on the Vegas Golden Knights. Regardless if it was in season one with a future Hall of Famer in net, Marc-Andre Fleury, regardless if it's making a trade to go out and get Ottawa Senators Mark Stone, going out and sacrificing multiple futures to Buffalo to get Jack Eichel, or making a smart move in expansion draft and getting a young defenseman in exchange for Clayton Stoner. That happened to be Shea Theodore. Regardless of how they get said talent, Vegas Golden Knights have always been an organization that finds talent, and an organization who knows how to build a roster around said talent. So what we're going to focus on here on the Vegas Golden Knights, here we're going to focus on Vegas Hockey Hub, is who is the best player on the Vegas Golden Knights. It is going to be a series we're going to do here on Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm going to look up and I'm really going to examine 4 or 5 players the Vegas Golden Knights have on their current roster. And I'm going to ask, who is the best player on your Vegas Golden Knights? Because there are multiple candidates. There really is no right or wrong answer here. It is simply up to the audience, and eventually will be up to your host, Ian Rachiele, on who is the best player on Vegas Golden Knights. So the first person you can make an argument for, first person that I'm really going to take a look at is the topic of today's video, and that is defenseman Shea Theodore. Now, defenseman Shea Theodore has been with the Vegas Golden Knights since day one. Shea Theodore has been a misfit through thick and thin. When it comes to Shea Theodore, he has become a vital part of the Vegas Golden Knights. But what would make Shea Theodore a potential best player for the Vegas Golden Knights? What qualities does Shea Theodore have that would make him a possible candidate for best player for the Vegas Golden Knights? Well, one attribute that so many people want to make fun of, one attribute that some people want to talk about with Shea Theodore as a negative and not a positive, is the way Shea Theodore puts the puck in the back of the net. Shea Theodore is a goal scorer. Shea Theodore is someone who can get you 10, 12, 14 goals a year as a defenseman in the NHL. Shea Theodore is what they call an offensive defenseman. He is someone who can move around the puck, someone who can be at the blue line, someone who could be up high, and he can get the puck and score you goals. Now, there's going to be a portion of hockey fans, I consider them more of an old school portion of hockey fans, who see it as a bad situation. They look at defensemen scoring goals as a negative in the NHL. They see a defenseman putting up 40, 50 points and half of them being goals as a negative. They will see a guy like Shea Theodore as a problem in the NHL because he doesn't lay back enough, because he isn't staying in the zone. He is not focusing on playing defense. Instead, he's focusing on playing offense. How dare Shea Theodore focus on scoring goals? For the people who say that, and for the people who want to make an argument that defensemen playing offense is a bad idea, Go ask Cale Makar from the Colorado Avalanche if scoring goals doesn't make you a defenseman. Go ask several defensemen in the NHL right now if they shouldn't play offense. And majority of the offensive defensemen in the league are some of the best defensemen you have in the NHL right now. A defenseman scoring 10 to 15 goals a year used to be a rarity in hockey. Now it is almost a must for a top line defenseman. Almost all of the best defensemen at every single team in the NHL has to know how to score goals. They have to know how to at least generate offense in the modern NHL. So for the people that are stuck in the past and for the people who want to say, Shea Theodore, he can't be a great defenseman because he likes to pass the puck too much. The reason why Shea Theodore can't be the best player is because he focuses too much on the front and not too much on the back end. My argument would be watch the rest of the NHL, examine who the best defensemen are in the league right now, and you'll notice a very common pattern. And that is that the best defensemen in the NHL, as of right now, are mainly guys who play offense, mainly guys who actually know how to put the puck in the back of the net. So that would be my first argument for Shea Theodore. I respect his skill set as getting the puck in the back of the net. More importantly, I like that Shea Theodore is a defenseman who also knows how to find the open guy. Shea Theodore, over the past 4 seasons, has had 25 or more assists every single year. This is a guy in Shea Theodore who last season had 52 points, 40 of them were almost assists. So when you examine Shea Theodore and you examine his potential, him getting the puck to Jonathan Marchessault is a good thing. Him finding an open Jack Eichel is excellent. Shea Theodore being down the other end and shooting it right across for Riley Smith so he can get a 2-on-1 play is a fantastic way to play hockey. So, Shea Theodore knows how to put the puck in the back of the net. Yes. Does he know how to get the puck to somebody else who's wide open? Yes. And more importantly, does Shea Theodore know how to play defense? Does Shea Theodore actually know how to make sure the puck doesn't go in their team's net? And the answer to that question should be very obvious if you watch Vegas Golden Knights hockey. Because Shea Theodore, if you've seen his plus minus since joining the NHL, he had a plus 12 with the Vegas Golden Knights in his third season. He had a plus 28 in year 4, a plus 6 in year 5, and he had a positive plus minus in year 6. So, Shea Theodore, outside of year 1, because he was a brand new guy, really young, I think he had a -4, if I remember correctly. But Shea Theodore, ever since, he has been a vital part, an everyday starter for the Vegas Golden Knights, has been a positive on defense. He has been a positive player that you can have on your middle six. Now, am I going to sit here and say that he is the best defender on the team? No, that would happen to be Mark Stone. Mark Stone is actually one of the best defensive forwards in the NHL right now. So I really cannot sit here and say that he is the best defender on the team. But I would say that he definitely is in the upper echelon of the organization. I would point out that he is probably one of the best defenders the team has right now. He is a guy who knows what his role is. He knows how to get into the zone, and more importantly, he knows how to stand right in front of the crease and make sure that people aren't getting in his way. So when it comes to Shea Theodore, he checks off a lot of attributes that a defenseman needs in the NHL. He is someone that you can rely on in Las Vegas as a defenseman. But I'm not done yet. What is something else that Shea Theodore could have that would make him one of the best players that the Vegas Golden Knights has? Well, how about Does Shea Theodore live up to his contract? Does Shea Theodore, as a defenseman for the Vegas Golden Knights, does he live up to his $5.25 million cap hit that he signed in 2019-2020? And the answer, surprisingly, is a resounding yes for Shea Theodore. When the Vegas Golden Knights signed him to that 7-year deal worth $36 million, some people questioned why the Vegas Golden Knights would do it. After all, he hadn't hit 40 points by that situation. He'd only been 2 years in with Vegas. He had 18 goals. He had 48 assists. He barely had 60 points by that point. Why are you giving Shea Theodore a massive contract? A lot of people question why George McPhee would do it. Well, the situation has actually went from being a questionable contract to now being one of the best contracts in all of hockey. A guy in Shea Theodore, who, by the way, should be getting paid really around $8 million to $8.5 million as a defenseman if you really base off his value. Instead, Shea Theodore is only getting paid $5.25 million instead of $8.5. And most definitely, I definitely appreciate the support, Guy Dawson. If it wasn't for you, PR Connections Radio would not exist. And you know what? Tonight's game, T-Mobile Arena, an excellent game, excellent arena, really, out there in Las Vegas, state-of-the-art arena out there at T-Mobile Arena. Now, continuing the conversation with the Vegas Golden Knights, Shea Theodore, when he signed that deal at 5.25, I'm going to make an argument right here, right now, that if you examine and you analyze the top defensemen in the NHL, when you compare the production level of Shea Theodore to the rest of the NHL, you could make a realistic argument that Shea Theodore is a top 10 defenseman in the NHL. You could really sit back and say that his salary and his current cap hit should be among the best defensemen. Understand that Erik Karlsson, Drew Doughty, and Zachary Werenski are the top defensemen in terms of highest paid. Seth Jones from Chicago is getting paid $9.5 million by the Blackhawks. Honestly, Shea Theodore should be getting paid around that level. He is a better defenseman than what Seth Jones is right now. Is he better than Charlie McAvoy? I'm going to say no. Is he better than Adam Fox? I'm going to lean towards no. Is he better than Cale Makar, for example, a guy who just got paid $9 million, one of the best defensemen in hockey? I'm not going to go to that level. But what I will point out is that when you start going past the Cale Makars, you go past the Adam Fox, the Charlie McAvoys, the Victor Hedmans, when you go past those players, you could really start making an argument that Shea Theodore should be paid like those guys. That Shea Theodore is good enough to be on the same level as Seth Jones. That Drew Doughty and Erik Karlsson, who got paid $11 and $11.5 million, they're not even on the same level of production as Shea Theodore is right now. As a matter of fact, when you compare Erik Karlsson and Drew Doughty, the two highest paid defensemen in the NHL, and you compare what Shea Theodore did in the same season, the argument should start and stop right here. This past 2 seasons, Shea Theodore put up more than 20 goals, and Erik Karlsson put up 18. Erik Karlsson in 2 seasons combined put up less than 50 points. Shea Theodore put up 52 points in the 5th season of play for the Vegas Golden Knights. So that really is a stunning testament to how far Erik Karlsson has fallen. That Shea Theodore put up more points in a single season than Erik Karlsson did in 2 seasons combined, and he is the best, highest paid defenseman in the NHL. Drew Doughty is an interesting situation because you could take his last 3 seasons of goal scoring, and they equal the same as Shea Theodore the past 2 seasons. So, Drew Doughty has fallen off. Erik Karlsson has fallen off. Seth Jones has fallen off. So, I will make an argument. I will make a discussion. I'm really going to make a angle right here, right now, that if you are a organization, if you're someone who needs a top tier defenseman, and you have an $8 million, you have $9 million to kill, make Shea Theodore your future. Make Shea Theodore one of the highest paid defensemen in the NHL. Because Shea Theodore is a guy who, once again, is getting paid $5.25 million. For anyone who wants to know where that's ranked in the NHL, that makes him the 53rd highest ranked, highest paid defenseman in the NHL. All right, he is ranked as the 53rd highest paid defenseman in the NHL, and that's Shea Theodore. Someone who should be getting paid top 10 money and is outside the top 50 in terms of highest paid defensemen. So, my argument is not only that I think that he is the best player on the Vegas Golden Knights, he's one of the best players on the Vegas Golden Knights, that he is hilariously getting underpaid, and I do expect him to make about $8.5–9 million when his contract does go up. Now, when Shea Theodore becomes a free agent after 2025, he will be one of the best paid players in the NHL. There's no reason why he shouldn't. Like I said, if when you examine what Adam Fox has done in New York, what Charlie McAvoy has done in Boston, those two are around the same production level as Shea Theodore is. Now, the one debate that someone could bring up, the one rebuttal someone who's watching this show could bring up is even Shea Theodore the best defenseman on the Vegas Golden Knights? Is Shea Theodore even the best blue liner on the Vegas Golden Knights? Because everyone's going to point to Alex Pietrangelo. They're going to point to the guy who's getting paid $8.5 million until 2027. They're going to point to the guy who was a top 5 pick and won a Stanley Cup in St. Louis before going to Las Vegas and joining them. Well, for anyone who wants to make an argument that Alex Pietrangelo and Shea Theodore, how about you compare the statistics side by side? How about I give you and I break down what the statistics look like side by side? Now, Alex Pietrangelo has played 3 seasons in Las Vegas. Shea Theodore has played 6 years in Las Vegas. So I am just going to use an example. I'm going to use their 2020, 2021, and their 2021, 2022 seasons as my example. Okay? I'm going to use their 2 seasons that they played alongside each other as my basis point out there in Las Vegas. So, Alex Pietrangelo, in terms of games played, he played 121 games during that time span. Shea Theodore, around that same time period, he played around the same amount of games. So, when it comes to games played, it actually isn't that big of a conversation because there really isn't that much of a huge drastic movement when it comes to the amount of games played. Once again, Alex Pietrangelo, he played 121 games during that 2-year span with the Vegas Golden Knights, whereas Shea Theodore played around 120 games. So there's really not an argument made there. However, goals scored is a different situation. Alex Pietrangelo scored 20 goals in that 2-season span. Shea Theodore scored 22 goals in that span. So, I would give a slight advantage to Shea Theodore. It's not a big difference, but I would still give a slight edge to Shea Theodore when it comes to putting the puck in the back of the net. When it comes to assists, when it comes to helping players out and getting the puck to someone else so they can put it in the back of the net, Alex Pietrangelo in a 2-year span had 41 assists. Shea Theodore in that same time period blows it out of the water. It's actually interesting to see that, yes, Alex Pietrangelo had 47 assists. Shea Theodore had a whopping 72 for the Vegas Golden Knights. So you had 72 for Shea Theodore. You had 47 for Alex Pietrangelo. That's obviously a big plus in order for Shea Theodore. When it comes to points scored, Alex Pietrangelo had 67 points. Shea Theodore had 94. So once again, you are going to give an edge to Shea Theodore when it comes to really breaking down who's the best defenseman for the Vegas Golden Knights. Is it Alex Pietrangelo? Is it Shea Theodore? Well, considering that Shea Theodore scored 94 points in a 2-year span, where Alex Pietrangelo scored 67, that's a big difference. And in terms of plus minus, you also got to give the advantage to Shea Theodore. And in that 2-year span, Shea Theodore plus 34. Alex Pietrangelo in that same time plus 27. So with that being a plus 7, I'm going to give it to Shea Theodore on that characteristic as well. And even when it comes to penalty minutes, the only thing that's actually the only thing Alex Pietrangelo actually would have won. Alex Pietrangelo, he has had 58 penalty minutes in a 2-year span. Shea Theodore has had 38. So you outweigh Pietrangelo's contract, $8.8 million. He has more penalty minutes, and he has slightly more games played than Shea Theodore. But the rest of the statistics favor Shea over Alex. He has more goals, he has more assists, more points, and he has a better plus-minus against Alex Pietrangelo. But one more argument, one more conversation I have to bring up because I know somebody's going to. What about the postseason? What about the postseason performance between Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo? Well, once again, I'm going to use a 2-year span when it comes to playoffs. So I'm going to use the 2019-2020 playoffs and the 2020-2021 playoffs. Alex Pietrangelo, he played 28 games during the playoffs in that 2-year span. Shea Theodore played 39 games during that entire time period. Alex Pietrangelo had 5 goals. Shea Theodore had 8. Shea Theodore had 21 assists. Alex Pietrangelo, 13. And when it came to overall points, Alex Pietrangelo had 18. Shea Theodore, a whopping 29. And since I also want to wrap it up with a little bow, Shea Theodore had a plus 14. Alex Pietrangelo had a plus 8. So even when you examine the postseason for Pietrangelo and Theodore, Theodore has better statistics and did better analytically than Alex Pietrangelo did. So I also want to briefly mention, because I know somebody's going to bring it up. I know there's going to be somebody who's going to say, well, Shea Theodore, he has done good, but has he done great enough to be the number 1 defenseman for the Vegas Golden Knights? Where is he on the depth chart for the Vegas Golden Knights organization? Now, I'm going to give my one clear rebuttal to anyone who says, well, Shea Theodore, if he's the best defenseman on the Vegas Golden Knights, why is he on the middle pairing? Why is he on the top 4, but he is not the top 1 for the Vegas Golden Knights? I will explain it by explaining the philosophy of Bruce Cassidy. I will explain it by talking about Alec Martinez and Alex Pietrangelo are 2 veteran defensemen who have been in the NHL for a solid decade. Alec Martinez and Alex Pietrangelo are two defensemen who have been in the game for a long time. Bruce Cassidy favors older defensemen. Bruce Cassidy is someone who really likes to see older defensemen. He trusts them. He expects them to do best out there for the Boston Bruins. He also did that for plenty of years out there in Boston. Just to give you a brief example of that, just take a brief look at the Boston Bruins roster since Bruce Cassidy was around. When Bruce Cassidy had the defense, when he had the organization out there, he used plenty of veteran defensemen like Derek Forbort, like Josh Brown. He used veteran defensemen like Zdeno Chara for plenty of years. He also brought in guys like John Moore, who was a veteran defenseman. You had, a bunch of players in Boston who were defensemen. They were veterans. They mainly had been in the league for 9, 10, 11 years by that point. That is what the Boston Bruins do. The reason I'm bringing that up is because he now took that philosophy and he's using it here in Las Vegas. He takes a lot of inspiration from what he did in Boston and is using it today for the Vegas Golden Knights. So no, I am not worried that Shea Theodore is not a top-line defenseman. I am not going to say that he isn't the best defenseman on the team only because he is not the top-line defenseman where Alec Martinez and Alex Pietrangelo are. Because anyone who focuses on time of ice, which, by the way, is a defensive metric, then you would know that Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo both play on average around 22 to 23 minutes a game in the NHL. Very similar, Alec Martinez and Brayden McNabb play around 20 to 21 minutes, and those guys are supposedly on the first line. Zach Whitecloud and guys like Ben Hutton, for example, and Nicholas Hague, they spend roughly around 12 to 16 minutes on the ice for the Vegas Golden Knights. So Shea Theodore is a top-line defenseman if you factor in time on ice, TOI. So he averages about 22 to 23 minutes on ice. He has a solid plus-minus. His points per game is normally around half, so he normally scores half the time in the NHL. And this is a guy in Shea Theodore who, once again, averages around 12 to 14 points a year. And ever since he joined the Vegas Golden Knights, he also doesn't miss that many games. I mean, this is an organization that he only missed 3 games in 2018, 2019. He missed only one game when it came to the 2019-2020 season. He missed 3 games in 2020, 2021. And even in an injury-riddled 2021-2022 season, he missed 4 games. So Shea Theodore is reliable. He knows how to play the game. He can put the puck in the back of the net, and he is someone who passes the puck around and gets it to the open man, in the slot. So Shea Theodore, is he the best player on the Vegas Golden Knights? I have made my argument to you, but I'm going to leave it to the audience right now. You tell me in the chat down below. You tell me on Twitter, @SportsAngle on PR. You tell us on our YouTube channel, like, share, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. You let me know at Vegas Hockey Hub, is Shea Theodore the best player on the Vegas Golden Knights? Now, a little teaser, a little appetizer for our next episode. That's going to be on Vegas Hockey Hub. We are going to talk about the defense for the Vegas Golden Knights as a whole, not just one person this time. And I'm going to make an argument to everyone watching around the world that the Vegas Golden Knights defense is a strength, not a weakness. The defense for your Vegas Golden Knights is actually one of the best parts of the team. That defense helps this team get better, and it's not making them worse. So until next time, This is Vegas Hockey Hub here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. Follow me on social media at IanRachiele18. And until next time, have a good one, watch hockey, and go Knights go.